Okay, welcome back. 50 and 50 vlogs and blogs for 50 days. I'm around in the corner, nearing the end, and today I'm going to cover two topics in one vlog, which is cheating. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to jam in some more content. This wouldn't happen without sportinetics, protein, or Romenko. Today I'm going to talk about disorders of the abomasum in dairy animals, and it's the cow and the calf. Two conditions, displaced abomasums in cows, and let's start with abomasal bloat. I was supposed to cover this earlier in the series, but abomasal bloat in calves, the abomasum is the milk stomach, so when our ruminant animals develop, they don't lose their abomasum, but it becomes less important than the big rumen as we wean, after we wean them. But the abomasum is the milk stomach, and we do see bloat in that. Calves swelling up with gas, they can be down. It has a big impact on their lungs because they don't have a massive chest cavity, so you need to be getting in treatments quite rapidly. Typically the age group of calves will be 1 to 3 weeks of age. You can see it in older calves, and I suppose the key thing when you're treating these, you need to get rid of the gas. Stomach tubing isn't fantastic, so what we would have done in farms, we would have shown farmers how to put a needle in for abomasal bloat, because you don't have much time and you need to sit them on their backsides and have them up and sort of almost on their backs, and you're putting in here a specific point, relieving that gas. Now you would only want to be doing that once. You can do it once reasonably well. Oral antibiotics work well as well, because why is this gas being produced? It's proliferation of bacteria down there producing an excessive gas because of the emptying of the abomasum has been slowed down. So abomasal emptying is important. So ideally what we want to be thinking about though on farm is, and I've seen more of it, and I'm working on a program at the moment, or a bit of a project, and we're looking at all areas of calf health, and I've just simple checklists when it comes to some of the key things for abomasal bloats on farms where we've seen it. And it's about going through consistently the routine. And I just want people to be reminded of, I think this is quite important to remember, the normal biology. So we've seen a bit more bloat with going on to milk replacer, but I think where we see issues is, if you think about normal biology, a calf can suckle 8 to 12 times a day. Milk, normal whole milk, is 12.5% solids. The rest of it's water, so the consistency of and osmolality of normal milk, including the electrolytes and makeup of it, are really important. The further you go away from normal biology, the more risks you have around upsetting, particularly digestive upsets in the young calf. So if I look at key things, the reason we get bloats is decreased abomasal emptying, the stomach not emptying, and you get a build-up of proliferation of bacteria and gas, and that's why we get that abomasal bloat. So if you're seeing a herd level, you need to step through all these things. So bacteria have been thrown into the mix. Clostridium, and it's perfringens is the clostridial bacteria. There's a sardina bacteria as well that's been isolated in it. I think, okay, they can cause bloat, you'll see it there more, but often they're mostly associated with the other risk factors here. Something else has gone wrong. Hygiene's important when you think about bacteria in the first place. Hygiene of equipment, hygiene when you're mixing up milk replacer. You don't see a whole pile of abomasal bloat in whole milk. It can happen, but it can be back down to hygiene here around feeding equipment particularly. So milk replacer is a risk factor in the first place. I'm not saying you won't get it in whole milk, but it's a risk factor. I think the key thing here, and this is what I go through my checklist, consistency around the volumes that we're being fed. We're feeding very large volumes. If we're going to once a day feeding too quickly, that's really, that can be key. If you're making any changes, the calf likes consistency in routine. If you're making changes in daily routine, be timing, the temperature of milk, if the temperature is too warm, if the temperature is fluctuating up and down, other things like electrolytes, and the timing being off. So consistency is really key. This for me is a big one, and it's osmolality. So if you think about solids in milk, 12.5%, that's why we add 125 grams to 875 litres of water per litre to make up that consistency similar to milk. If I'm increasing that to 150 grams, if I'm moving that up and down, it may affect abomasal emptying. It's just different fluid. If the consistency is different, it's almost thicker. If you look at things like glucose and other things that might be in there, that might affect osmolality, might affect emptying. So you need to look at that. I think it's very important to look at water and starter diets in calves as well. That they have fresh water and have starter going in there. The rumen development is good, and teat. So if you think about the calf drinking 8 to 12 times a day, and think about the flow rate, think about saliva production, how that calf produces and suckles, and that esophageal groove closing. So we're trying to keep that as natural as possible. So calves drinking, for example, from buckets is not ideal, but calves drinking from the teats, the flow rate's too good and too fast, so the calf has to do a little bit of work for it. So that's my experience with abomasal bloat. It requires that walk through of all the steps. I think there's 10 steps there that I go through, and it's, you know, to try and make sure, because often when abomasal bloat, like all these conditions, we want to say it's this, it's that, and it's often a mixture of improving few small things in the consistency of the routine for better results. Okay, that's the baby calves, that's abomasal bloat. What are displaced abomasums? If we look at, and this is a terrible art, if we look at a cow, the rumen here and the main engine of the cow, at calving time, we must remember when that calf is born, you're leaving a space in the abdomen, and that's a challenge. That's why we can see issues. So if you look at this is side on, if you look at cross section, the rumen here over the left hand side, and this abomasum is small stomach, big stomach in the calf, but is replaced by the rumen. It still plays an important role in digestive function, but what happens is if the rumen shifts up, the abomasum can shift out of place, and we call that a left displaced abomasum. So after calving, we have that abomasum is shifted from its normal position here up onto the left hand side. Now it can also go up onto the right hand side, which is a much more severe clinical there's much more severe clinical symptoms than on the left. We'll stick with left displaced abomasums. So when your abomasum shifts to the left hand side, it has a massive impact on the digestive system, on ketosis, and I suppose metabolic function in a freshly calved cow. So how will they present? Often they'll present slowly, they'll be off their appetite, they mightn't be eating meal in the parlour, they might be just, I suppose, milk drop will occur and can go down gradually. So these cows, farmers will be familiar with these, they're kind of slower, and they often will have other diseases like metritis or a mastitis or something else going on, either directly linked to why the stomach's displaced or because of the immune issues that are caused by the ketosis you'd experience with abomasal displacement. I think for me, why does this occur is really important, and it's just a quick bit about it. You could talk a lot about displacements. If we're seeing displaced abomasums, what's your incidence at herd level? It should be well less than 2% for grass-based in grass-based systems. Your higher yielding cows, your bigger type cows that require more management, you are more likely to see issues. And why is it issue? A lot of it's to do with rumen fill. So that rumen not allowing the displacement of that abomasum to go up, and dry matter intake. So if I have a freshly calved cow, I want her to eat. If she has an empty rumen, that rumen is going to contract, and we could have displacement. Why would she have an empty rumen? Anything that affects dry matter intake from disease, infection, or transition management that I've covered already. Obviously the calf being out there, the extra space, that creates a challenge. So really, if you're seeing lots of displaced abomasums, you need to act. Okay, we can do it surgically. The best option for these is to be brought back over, and that's what we would have done, and stitch them onto the side here. But that's fine, but you need to ask the question, why are they occurring? You need to look at dry matter intake, you need to look at transition management, and then the second thing you need to look at is, because the rumen here is a large muscle, the abomasum is a muscle, calcium, low blood calcium, not quite milk fever, but low blood calcium can lead to muscle weakness and lowered muscle tone, allowing again for this displacement to occur. So they're the two things I go after every time I hear I have an increased incidence of displacements: dry matter intake and calcium. Calcium is more straightforward, but dry matter intake you have to go step by step. But high incidence of displaced stomachs really tell me that we need to work on transition management in our cows. So the abomasum, very important digestive function in the young animal. It's primary digestive function we want to get right. Still plays a role in the older animal, and when things go wrong with the abomasum, left displaced abomasum, slow, lingering, we need to act fast to treat them surgically. Right displacement, you have very little time to get sick quite fast. So the abomasum, two main disorders we see with it. Okay, my thought for today, 40 something thoughts in, I'm running out of thoughts, but consistency is key. Today's thought is consistency, particularly with calves. Keep thinking about consistency in your routine. Farming is a system, and if you can keep, for both cows and calves, everything consistent, whether it's a milking routine, feeding routine, housing, handling, keep things consistent, cows and calves will thank you for it. That's my thought for today. Happy safe farming.